What car brands you would never buy? I'm not sure there's any brands I'd never buy. Plenty that I'd only have if it had a decent warranty still land as I'm looking at you, but most brands have some redeeming qualities. Even Nissan make the GT-R, to make up for giving the world the Qashqai. There are companies which I wouldn't buy any of their current products because of stupid design decisions or twattish behavior. Tesla on both counts, but who knows, in 10 years things might be very different. Tesla might have been sold to someone who's not a psychopath and they might have realized that people like indicator stocks. Toyota. Most of their cars these days are super derpy looking or are just plain ugly. I am serious, when I first saw the Yaris I nearly vomited on how ugly it looks. Alternatively, Saturn. It is because they were manufactured with arguably the cheapest materials known to manufacturers these days. Thankfully GM doesn't manufacture them. I swear I like to joke that Saturn means only one thing: this person is driving it just so they can commit auto insurance fraud. My 2018 Honda CR-V is a good, solid, fuel-efficient family vehicle with an air conditioner that was faulty from the factory and hasn't worked in some time despite multiple dealer attempts to fix it. This is a very common issue as well. Warranties and TSPs don't cover it either, and they are just replacing faulty parts with other faulty parts at this point. The recent Civic models are the same from what I understand. I think I'd buy a Toyota next time. BMW. My parents have a BMW X3 and it's constantly having issues, and the price for repairs are usually 2x 3x the normal cost of any regular car. Although BMW do produce some well-engineered line of models, most people who are not into cars just buy BMWs because it's a middle-class upper middle-class status symbol, thus attracting the wrong type of people driving them. I think this is where the stereotypical SHT BMW driver stigma stems from. I've had 2 recession-era Dodges. First was an '07 Nitro that was a huge piece of shit. The second was an '08 Charger with 94k kilometers on it and in good shape. Within 10 months of having it I had 2 sensors fail on it, costing me almost $1,000 and a seized brake caliper. I went out and bought my first new car. A Toyota RAV4. My parents always buy Dodge. Every issue I've seen with Dodge, it's always sensor issues. I will never buy another one. Any gas car. After driving an EV for a year, any gas car feels like it's stuck in tar when you're starting from zero at a red. Have a Model 3 but am open to any car sedan only that can beat it in call and zip feel while driving. Almost got an Ioniq 6 but it barely does not fit in my garage, as it's very long. Keyless entry is also a must, as I love only carrying my phone and card holder wallet, and nothing more when I go out, unless I have fuck you money, probably anything other than a Toyota at this point. My first car was a hand-down that was 20 when it died, but the only reason it died was because I was parked on a street that got flooded for a few days and totaled it. My current car is now 10 and I haven't had a single issue except for the key fob running out of battery. I would like a hybrid if I get the money, but I'll stick with Toyota. BMW. I had a buddy that had 2 different ones and always had issues with them. He sold his second one to a woman who was buying it for her son because her son's old one was always in the shop, but they figured a newer model should be better. I've known some other people that have heard some similar stories. I will say though, the '01 BMW my buddy had was a sweet ass ride, but not worth the money to keep throwing at it. Tesla. I've heard their QC sucks and I don't like the idea of the CEO being able to change options at his whim. Right now, I'd never buy a Nissan, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, or a Jeep. I've said the same thing about Kia Hyundai, but I really like my current Hyundai. So who knows if I'd feel that way in the future. A TT Tesla fan sounding like douchebags. I also own a '32 Ford, so that means I know about cars. Growing up we had this Chevy Suburban that my dad had a personal vendetta against. He hated that thing so much, constantly working on it, cursing it out, etc. Because of that, I've always hated Chevrolet. I personally have never owned a Chevy, only driven them as rental cars every now and then, so my bias is strictly because of my dad's hatred for that Suburban. Smiley face. Never buy again? Jeep. I got fucked by electrical gremlins that screwed my powertrain. Text gave up on it, but not after charging me hours and hours of labor to find nothing. All while under warranty. I cried lemon, FCA laughed. Traded it in at a massive loss. Sad because that Wrangler was pretty awesome, when it worked. I'll probably never buy American again. Ford. It was a running joke to not buy one with the majority of family having worked for GM. Then I considered buying one with my brother-in-law having worked there. Then Ford did the massive layoffs this year, cut several people I knew. acted as if it were a small headcount reduction, and then barely paid people off. Now I really won't be buying Ford. Audi. Aside from hearing about how often they break from numerous people, they borderline harassed me when I didn't buy from them. Called from multiple numbers despite me saying I have already bought a car. I am not, nor will I be, interested in buying from Audi. Leave me alone. I think I have 2-3 of their numbers blocked. One Volkswagen, again. I had 2 Jettas in the early 2000s, and I spent thousands of dollars on them. They were my first cars and I thought it was normal for cars to just break down all the time. I was wrong. 2 Kia, because I had a terrible experience at a local dealer. 3 Tesla, because the CEO is a moron. BMW. While I understand that they are supposed to be a very high-end German sports vehicle, when they break down, which is often, they are disgustingly expensive and difficult to fix. I work at a tow shop and every single driver says that the most common vehicle they have on the back of their trucks are BMWs. I used to say that I would never drive a North American car. My car since 2001 Honda Odyssey built in Ontario. 1996 Golf built in Mexico. 2005 Altima built in Tennessee. 2004 Jetta built in Mexico. 2006 Jetta built in Mexico. 2014 Outback built in Indiana. I had such a shitty experience with a Ford I vowed never to buy Ford or any American-made car. My parents have had shitty Hyundais and Kias but also good ones. But I wouldn't buy those either. Nissan, Toyota, Mazda, Honda, Subaru are the cars I'd stay with. I likely wouldn't own any mid-2000s American car, with possibly the exception of a Cobalt HRSS if it was a really good deal. They are generally uninspired, unreliable garbage. And that's coming from someone that owns a Fiat 500 Abarth. I wouldn't buy any of them unless we're talking Hot Wheels, because I don't want to drive, I'm not comfortable with the idea, and I don't want to own a stinky car. Just keep improving public transit walkways, cycle paths and I'll be happy. Mazda. Had a Protege 5 and it was rusting to death. Apparently this was a known issue when there was a recall to address the rust coating. Dealership refused, I escalated and refused again. Goodbye Mazda. Been driving Honda ever since. I can't bring myself to buy a Toyota. I know they make good cars, this is not a knock on their product, I just hate how boring they are. They're the khaki pants and knit shirt of automobiles utterly devoid of style and character. Nissan. CVTs are awful. Lemon Lotta 2019 because of 2 junk CVTs in the first 10k miles in Tesla. QC is horrid. Panel gaps galore and, I don't think they look good at all. I also hate the owner of that company with a passion. Toyota or Honda. Not because of anything mechanical, just not interested in those brands and never found them to be good looking cars or trucks. Also, the TRD turd stickers on their trucks is an ongoing joke with my family. After buying a used Chevy Cruze when I moved cities and just needed a vehicle, Chevy. My god, that thing was a piece of shit. Crapped out with only 55k miles. Been driving Toyota for around 5 years now. Great vehicles. Anything American. They're all shit and ugly AF. Yes, including the ridiculous muscle cars that can't take a corner over, and yes, including Tesla with their poor construction and racist owner. I only drive German cars. Ford. Fix or repair daily. Or a better one, found on side of road, dead. There is always something you gotta fix on a Ford, and once you think you finally have it in good working order, the transmission goes out. Anything from Stellantis. When Fiat and Chrysler merged, it was like taking the 2 most unreliable car brands and making one big shitty company. I thought it couldn't get any worse, but then they merged with Peugeot. Ford. First car I ever owned. Serious issues. Every Ford I've rented has had issues. It's always the most random shit too, like making gas pumps shut off way before the tank is full. Points for creativity, I guess. Any of them anymore. Just personal preference, but of the affordable automakers they all just make SUVs and trucks. I hate SUVs and trucks. Oh, they might make 1 or 2 actual cars, but they aren't good looking cars. Toyota. Had the displeasure of driving a lot of them as rentals. I don't care what others say about Toyota reliability. It's the most horrible, sad, boring and comfortless driving experience money can get. A GM car, I'll never buy another one since they removed the option of having Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Hell with them if they think I'll be forced to use OnStar or some GM-centric knockoff. If you want reliability, there's a reason why Civics, Accords, Camrys, and Corollas have been a popular purchase for a long time. Boring as hell, but damned if they don't stay together. Scrolled thought a lot of the comments. Never seen Toyota or Honda mentioned. For a good reason. Okay, one person mentioned Toyota for looks, but no one should really care much about that. As a mechanic Ford, every single thing is a giant pita to work on. For God's sake, a company makes a custom tool to repair broken spark plugs because of an absolutely terrible design. Volkswagen. Not because they're bad cars, but I think they're dull and very overpriced for what they are. I've never understood why they're so desirable in a lot of people's eyes. Fiat. Everyone I know who is one has issues that took months to resolve. There's few places to have one work done in this area, and the lead times on parts are measured in weeks. Anything made by a Stellantis-owned company. Do you really want a car that Fiat or Renault had any influence in its design or manufacturing? Well, that's what you are buying. Any that took that bailout. They should have all foreclosed and gone out of business. Failure should not be rewarded. Other companies would have risen from their ashes. Tesla. I'm sure the car is fine, but fuck Elon Musk and his anti-union tactics. Further, his Tesla money comes from selling carbon credits to fossil fuel companies. Ford and Chrysler cars. I've owned both, and both are nightmares to work on. Ford trucks though, although gas thirsty, I have owned and driven for over 14 years. Dodge, Jeep, Fiat. I will maybe buy a Fiat 124, but that's a Miata in Fiat clothing, so I don't have to worry about the typical Stellantis reliability issues. Has to be Fiat. On 2, God knows what I was thinking of buying another after the disaster of the first. Are the people in the factory drunk all day?